Get ready, mate, and I'm going to tell you what being in school in the 90s as a Jehovah's Witness kid was like, because it was traumatizing. And as a mother now, I didn't realise how much Christianity was pushed in school, which leads to why my school experience was like it was as a child. I went to a bog standard Welsh primary school, and my mother must have had a chat with them before I joined, and was like, basically, she can't do X, Y, and Z, because I was in a primary school before that, and I made Mary in the nativity. I know, but I wasn't allowed to be Mary. I didn't actually do the nativity, but I moved to this other school, and I remember that a bit better. I was like in year 2 when I moved, and we weren't allowed to do assemblies. So when they did assembly, I'd have to stand in the hallway, and as a kid with ADHD, which we didn't know ADHD was the hardest thing in the world, just to stand still in the fucking hallway. I used to have to stand still in the hallway and wait for the stuff to be done, and then I could go in, which I didn't know what the stuff was done, but I'm guessing it was like a prayer and singing hymns, because I never sung in assembly. And then I'd have to leave at just before the assembly finished to go back and stand in the hallway for them to say a prayer again. I do remember, I think that changed, because I remember coming home one day singing The Whole World in his hands, and my mother was like, you're singing a hymn, and like I didn't go to assembly after that. I was allowed to do religious studies though, so when we were learning about Diwali and all these other things, I was allowed to do that. There was no like education about other religions, what they believe in. That was fine. And then I had to go up and talk about my religion and tell the class, and there was a Mormon in my class and she had to do the same. Why are you letting kids in cults talk about it, like, and try to influence other kids? School, come on. I used to sit in the classroom, so every time there was a nativity, I remember one year in that school they did Cinderella, and I was allowed to be in the school play at Christmas. Apart from that, it was a nativity. I used to have to sit in a computer room by myself. Like, so when everyone was practicing for the school show, and you know where it's like at the end of primary, like they practice pretty consistently, like for like the entire afternoon. I'd just be sat playing the EastEnders game on BBC in a room by myself with no teachers, just on my own on the computer. One time, because there was no like adults around, and like I was really sick in the classroom, and I was getting really ill, and I kept feeling worse and worse and worse and worse, and I kept looking for a teacher, and then eventually a teacher came past, and I was like, help, basically, and I got admitted to hospital, but I was like left for like 2.5 hours on my own, unattended, just basically dying in a classroom of a cult. And because why is the school leaving me unattended on my own, by the way? Well, I was just left on my own a lot in the school. Anytime we had to do things like Father's Day cards, Mother's Day cards, Valentine's Day, Easter, Christmas cards, I would just have an alternative project to do, which just made me weird in class. I'm just saying, like, I just have a different thing than everyone else to do. Why? I did end up going to comprehensive, but the only reason all the Jehovah's Witness kids in my town went to this comprehensive was because the janitor was a Jehovah's Witness and the photocopy guy was a Jehovah's Witness, and they felt like, and they were elders, so they felt like, you know, they were keeping an eye on us. And then loads of the kids, I decided to, like, I don't want to be one anymore as soon as I hit comp, and I realised I had free will. And loads of the other Jehovah kids that were like from my congregation ended up getting pulled out and homeschooled. Yeah, sucks to be them. Well, anyway, that is the tales of being raised as Jehovah's Witness. If you have any questions, let me know. Bye.